Welcome to Confidence Breakthrough Monthly. I am David Hamilton, and I am super excited to bring you month one, the power of presence, release anxiety, and unleash confidence from within. This entire month's lesson, this module, is all about how powerful it is to start with presence, to start with our awareness, which is part of the experience of presence, but how we can bring our attention in such a way that can really calm us down and bring out natural confidence that is already within you, that is lying under the surface of these thoughts, these beliefs, these ways of feeling and ways of behaving that you've just gotten off track with, so we can kind of get back to who you really are and really enhance that so you can have an awesome sense of confidence, an awesome sense of self, and an awesome life for yourself. Okay? So let's begin. Here's what we're going to cover in this month's lesson. First, we're going to talk about what your primary problem is as a social anxiety sufferer, and everyone suffers from this that I've encountered. And it's really important to identify this and continue to identify it so we can know how to avoid it, how to step away from it, okay? And that it really is kind of a problem in this sense. And it's a simple thing I'm going to talk about. It's nothing fancy, no advanced psychological theory, because it doesn't really need to be, okay? Then we're going to talk about what presence is and why do we need it. Why is it so important to bring presence, okay, into your daily life and into handling your anxiety and to letting your confidence come out? And what is this presence thing? I'm going to give you a core presence exercise that we're going to do right on the spot, right here in the lesson, and that you can use, that I'm going to have you use and apply the entire month, so you can get some active, immediate results from it. And I'm going to talk about the models of break fix versus proactive preventative, and which is the most important one to focus on. And lastly, we'll talk about directly how to apply it with presence growth work and give you an assignment so you can really apply this and integrate this into your daily life. So what's your primary problem? What is all of our primary problems as someone with a social anxiety sufferer? In dealing with social anxiety for myself for years, in making hundreds of YouTube videos, articles, and coaching people and helping people, all over the world with this. If I have to pin it down to one simple thing, it's as simple as this. It really is, okay? And it's not the only thing necessarily, but this is so fundamental in order to get yourself to calm down, in order to just get a little more ease, or a lot more ease, hopefully, just to start feeling better, is to break it down this simply, okay? And that the primary problem that we struggle with when we're dealing with social anxiety, and really any anxiety of any kind, is simply overthinking. Thinking too much, which means not only necessarily the kinds of thoughts you have. Say, for instance, I'm worried what those people are thinking about me. I'm worried if they think I'm weird. Are they judging me, right? Are they going to reject me? But the fact that you're just thinking too much, that the rate of those thoughts that you think are 1,000, I'm making this number up, but there's 1,000 a second instead of 2 a second, right? Or more realistically, that there's 60 a minute versus, 5 a minute. That literally the rate of thought, which we can call TPM, right? Thoughts per minute, is so revved up that just the fact that your all this thinking's going on, that your head is revved up, that your thoughts are revved up, causes a ton of anxiety, okay? And that physiologically, the fact that we're caught in all these thinking, and it's like we're lost in the land of obsessive thinking, is the place to start, okay? And while in other months we'll talk about quality of thought and types of thought, this is most important to start with. There's a specific reason I am starting with this after years and years of helping people with this. Okay. And we've got to get your thinking reduced. We just have to reduce it. I don't even care about what the specific thoughts are at this point. I just want you to get to where you can reduce it. Because when we reduce our thinking, inevitably, every single one of us starts to feel better. When we're not caught in our heads, right? I'm in my head all the time. Self-consciousness that you all experience to some degree or another, and probably to a large degree, which is being too conscious of the self. Okay? And what's the self? The self is the I, right? I this, I that. Everything you relate to is I. What will they think of me? Another version of I. Why do I always feel so much anxiety? Why do I act so weird around people? Why can't I start conversations? Why can't I make eye contact? I. And what is the word I? Where does that word come from? Well, my friends, the word I comes from the word the word in Latin for I, which is ego. Okay? So just think about this. Every time that you're thinking a thought about the self-conscious, you're just saying, why do I feel so horrible around people? Why does ego feel so horrible around people? You see? But it's the fact that all these thoughts are I, ego. Okay? And so what's the simple solution? Well, the simplest solution to this is to get into your body. So most of the time, for me and for anybody that I've worked with that has struggled with social anxiety and extreme forms of shyness, and then general anxiety and anticipatory anxiety, which can lead to depression and all kinds of things, is the fact that we experience ourselves in our heads and we're dissociated from our body, the rest of us. Now, our head is part of our body, but we only experience it here. And sometimes we don't even experience that. We're lost in all this thinking. And the anxiety we feel can often be in the head. It can be in the chest. It can be in your hands if you shake. It can be all these places. But a lot of times people don't even notice where they're actually experiencing the anxiety. They just say, I feel anxious. And to start to pinpoint where that is how we start to get into your body. You got to be aware of where you're feeling it, okay? Not only that, but just simply being aware that we have this entire body that we live our lives through, that we're conscious or unconscious of, that determines how we act, how we show up in the world, how we operate, and what we experience. And that we actually experience our anxiety throughout our body in different places, okay? And it's different for different people, but the common things are that we feel it in our head, we feel all this thought going around, and we tend to feel something in our solar plexus or our stomach area, some larger feeling, okay? Again, not everyone, but most people. And so bringing the awareness to this first is the key. And that literally, that our overthinking, that energy is all in our head, and we've got to get down into our body. Okay, which, when we do it properly, will naturally reduce the thinking, the self-consciousness, the self-judgment, thinking I'm a weirdo, all the paranoia about what people are thinking, when no one ultimately really cares about you in that sense, right? You care about you most, just like they care about themselves most. Okay? So this is where presence comes in. This is how we get into our body much more easily and readily. So we can be what I call relaxed and ready. Because we don't want to be too relaxed, because then we can be too passive. We want to be relaxed and ready with energy. And so that's what presence is. It's having this experience of all of you, right? And a fuller and really an entire experience of all of you, all of what's around you, all of what you're engaged in the moment, right? And you feel there. That's simply what presence means. Now, I'm not addressing in this lesson social presence, which projects outwards. That's different when I speak of that. But I'm just simply speaking of being present which is that you can still feel in your head. Okay, you can still think. It's not about not, thinking, but your thinking is no longer the primary means of which you access the world and reference the world. Like one of my favorite sayings goes, is that all of you becomes the master, and your mind becomes the servant, instead of the mind being the master, and then you're lost in your monkey mind, and all this is controlling you, and you're feeling crappy and all that, versus you being in control and your mind is the assistant, and then you feel much better, much more certainly aware, and just there in the moment, which, by the way, extends out into being social and really helps with all of that. So again, experiencing all of you, your entire being is another way to say it. Okay, that's your mind, your emotions, and your body, all of you. Now, body awareness is key here. That's what we're doing, because that's what we're lacking. We're lacking body awareness. Another way to say is somatic sense. And somatic is a fancy word for body. It's a cool one because it means body in a whole way. A lot of times when we think of the body in modern times, we think of it in different parts: your arms, your legs, your heart, your head, your ears. And it gets too compartmentalized. But somatic is your body as a whole. It comes from the Greek word soma, which means body, but treated in a holistic and an entire way. And that's what we're doing. We're having a holistic experience of presence, which you just start to feel better immediately. And the thinking gets reduced, okay? Now, in general, all of us pretty much have a poor conditioning of our breathing. We are not taught to breathe properly. Our breathing is compromised because we work in front of computers. We hunch over. We don't pay attention to our posture, let alone our breathing. And it's really effed up, okay? And so this sets off an anxious biology. If we're breathing too shallow, if we're breathing too high in the chest, it sets up for us to be predicated for a fight, flight, or freeze response, right? Which is what everyone struggles with anxiety. That's when we go in anxiety mode. Our amygdala is firing off. Our emotions are firing, chemicals are cascading, right? All the fight or flight neurological pathways are going off. It's just pure anxiety. So you got to realize that this, now that I'm talking about breathing here, because this is the fastest way to hack your biology and to get into presence, is to use a powerful breathing method I'm about to show you. And the reason I use the word method, not technique, is because I don't want you to think of it as a technique. I want you to think of it as the way you're going to breathe from here on out for the rest of your life, literally. And you're going to retrain it. And you're not only going to use it, not only when you're feeling anxious and nervous, but you're going to be paying attention to it as much as you can, because we want this to become automatic. And we want your attention to draw to it automatically, if anything. Even if it doesn't become the way you breathe all the time, which probably it's just not possible, that fundamentally you come back to it as a way to get present, to hack your biology. And this way of breathing immediately cuts down your cognitive thinking, your overthinking, your intellectual thinking, your analytical thinking, and gets you just feeling better, feeling calmed down, feeling present. So what I want to teach you here is a core presence exercise that will hack your biology, get you straight into presence, and get that reduction of thinking going on. So it's just the thinking's in the background. You have way more control over your mind, over your body, over your experience, over your life. And it's called coherence breathing. And this comes from a cardiologist, a heart doctor turned coach. And what he found in his research is that the fastest way for people to calm down, to get clarity of thinking so they can perform well, so they can respond to anything in life, and overcome challenges and things that can be extremely difficult and very quickly do it, is through this coherence breathing process. And it's, in his research, what they found is there's 12 different factors that affect breathing and how we do it that really affect the quality of your breath, which affects the quality of your state. Because this is about your state of mind, your state of being, and being in a state where you're more present. This is about a present state, right? And where we reduce that self-conscious thinking. And so, but don't worry, you don't have to know all 12. All you have to know is these three. And it's very simple and very easy. It's the most powerful technique I'm going to give you of my arsenal of presence exercises that I give to my clients, to my coaching clients, that you're going to be able to use and apply for this month, okay? And so here are the three factors. The first factor is that your breathing must be rhythmic. It doesn't matter if it's 4 in, 4 out, or 4 in, 6 out, or 5 in, 7 out. But from breath to breath to breath to breath, that it's, say it's 4-4 and 4-4 and 4-4 and 4-4. It's consistent. Okay, that's the rhythmic part. The second is that it's fluid, that there is a continuity of your breath, that you're not inhaling, going, and exhaling. You're not forcing or pushing the breath, but your inhales and exhales are fluid. And the third is simply that your breath needs to be heart-centered, or another way to say is chest-centered, that literally in the center of your chest, or where your heart is, you want to experience your breath. You want to breathe in and breathe out through there. And that's it. It's these three factors. Now, you don't have to do them in order necessarily, but I suggest you start with that. And I'm going to run you through it right now. So what I want you to do is just notice where your breathing's at. I want you to bring your sense of awareness down to your breathing in your body. Okay? And what I want you to do is to start to, I'm just going to do a 4 in, 4 out. So 4 in, inhale, and 4 out, exhale. 4 in, inhale, and 4 out, exhale. Okay, so keep breathing in that rhythm. Now I want you to pay attention to the fluidity of it. How smooth is it? Another way to say is how smooth is it? So continue breathing, 4 in and 4 out. And just make that breath really, really nice and smooth. 4 in and 4 out. And honestly, you can use whatever rhythm you want. I'm just starting with 4-4. It doesn't matter. Some of my clients have found that counting really helps. Some find it gets in the way for them and it makes them too heady. So some people, you just fall into a natural rhythm and do it smoothly. And the third is heart-centered. So as you're breathing in and out, I just want you to place your hand over where your heart is and then breathe in this rhythmic pattern and with the fluidity or smoothness. And you want to have your focus of your breath going right into the center, right into your hand, into where your heart is. So go ahead and do that. So inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. One more time. Inhale. Exhale. And just round it out for a fourth time. Inhale. And exhale. Continue that. Continue breathing this way the rest of your lesson. You can put your hand, keep your hand there on your chest, and I want you to get used to it. Often when I start this, I do start with putting my attention to my chest and then paying attention to the other factors. I sort of do a reverse order. You can do it in any order. The main thing is that you pay attention to these three things. There are other variations and other things I could teach you, but they're not that important compared to this. This does the trick. You should already immediately feel a reduction in thinking and feel way more present and way more calm. Now, the one thing I want you to pay attention to is when you're paying attention to this third element, make sure that your kind of belly and your chest are rising together, and it should happen naturally since you're focusing on where your center of your chest is, your heart is, right? So it's just you're going to have an entire expansion in the front of your abdomen, okay, from your chest through your heart there and through your belly. It's all going to expand at the same time, then go back down. Make sure it's real fluid, make sure it's smooth, and that's it. That is it. It's that simple. You don't need any other breathing technique. You don't need fancy breathing techniques. You don't need to worry about an exact count. You don't need to worry about inhaling as much as possible or exhaling. And you definitely don't want to focus on breathing into your belly or breathing into your chest. You want to do it right in the center. Guys, I've been doing this for years. I've been working on my own anxiety and confidence for years, helping people. I'm a trained singer. I do martial arts. I've done yoga. I've done coaching work. I've done all kinds of work around presence and body and breathing. And this is absolutely, I can't tell you enough, the fastest way, the most powerful way to calm yourself down and get present, which is so important for reducing that thinking and reducing anxiety and letting yourself feel relaxed and letting that natural confidence that's within just come on out. So I want you to check right now. Where's your breathing at? Check your breathing. And one thing I will say is, I'm speaking here and I'm going to breathe differently than this. So yes, if you're talking, you're going to breathe differently than this. That's okay. When you're in moments of not speaking and resting or taking breaks between sentences, come right back to it. It works immediately, okay? Nothing I have found works better. So practice this. We're going to talk about exactly how to do that and implement this throughout the month next. So I want to talk a little more about why coherence breathing is so important, and that it's not just some throwaway technique or method that's like, oh yeah, it's just another method where, I do like diaphragmatic breathing. No, this is really, really amazing, awesome stuff, and it's backed by research. And so I want to cement that in your psychology of why it's so, so important that you practice this and how it ties to the importance of presence, which is going to absolutely carry into you feeling reduced anxiety, feeling way more calm, way more relaxed. It's going to just enhance your life, social life, personally and professionally, whatever you're doing, okay? And so one of the main things it does is it synchronizes the mind and the body. Another way to look at the overthinking problem is that your mind and body are out of sync. All this thinking is going on all in your head, and it's out of sync. So when those get into sync, we access all of our power, right? We become way more powerful as human beings in the choices that we make, and certainly in how we relate to other people, right? And how we build rapport, how we connect with them, how we persuade and influence them, which I'll certainly be talking about throughout this membership program more. So you can have more persuasion and influence, and in a positive way, not a manipulative way, right? And we have to start with us. Now, Dr. Watkins has also worked with a lot of very powerful CEOs. So very successful people use this as well. This is a path through biology to more success. And isn't that what you want, is more success ultimately, right? You want to be relaxed, feel less anxiety so you can be more confident in order to what? In order to be more successful in your life, which includes, of course, enjoying your life, but to be successful in your interactions so you can make more money, right? So you can do the career that you love or accelerate in that career or start a business, right? Have the friends and social circles that you really want to have. And if that applies to your dating or romantic life, that too, how all this plays into it, right? You want to be relaxed, the most relaxed, confident, best version of you, whether you're a man or a woman here, right? So it's really important that we synchronize the mind and the body. Now, how is that really done biologically? Well, what Dr. Watkins found is that heart rate variability is really, really important, okay? And what does that mean? Well, we have to have a certain range of heart rate variability. The healthier you are, the better your heart rate variability is. Now, it needs to be a coherent heart rate variability, which is why the breathing, when we get that breathing coherent, it brings the heart in a coherent state. When that heart is in a coherent state, boom, the mind and the body synchronize. Okay, I don't know if you know this, but just like the brain has neurons, okay, and the heart has its own little brain in it. It actually does, and it has the equivalent of neurons in the heart are called neurites. And neurites are what is kind of the heart intelligence. And the heart is this organ that pumps all the blood through the body. It's super important. The brain would not stay alive without the heart. And so we often discount the heart, and it's important not just as an individual organ, but it actually generates a greater magnetic field as well than the brain does. It's so powerful. And if you ever heard somebody wears, this phrase, they wear their heart on their sleeve or follow your heart, it comes from an intuitive knowingness, I truly believe, over time, of the power of the heart, because we can feel this organ pumping and we can feel things in our heart. We feel emotions there, right? And so if our heart is out of whack and it's not feeling right, we're out of whack. And certainly our mind and our body are out of whack, okay? And so this is all backed by research by Dr. Watkins. And he has done it to the level that he's able to come in, and he's worked with some pretty successful people, gone in and actually measured their heart rate, and without speaking to them, told them how they thought and what their biggest problems were. And these powerful CEOs were like, how can you know this about me? How can you know this is what I struggle with? By looking at their heart rate variability and the fact that it's in an incoherent state. And a lot of these guys experience a lot of stress. And guess what, guys? Anxiety. Now, I know that you're dealing with social anxiety, but it's a subset of anxiety. Overthinking, worrying, too much future projection in the negative, right? And so we don't have a coherent heart rate. Guess what? We don't have a mind-body synchronization, and we don't have a coherent mind. We don't have a coherent mind state. We can't think clearly. We can't start the conversation, right? If our mind-body isn't synchronized, we can't start it when we want to or not start it, right? We feel all this pressure. We focus too much on technique, even though technique and skill set is important, and you already have information that's going to help you with that. But I'll tell you what, with all the people I've worked with, and including myself, you can give anybody any technique and say, okay, now just go say it. And when they're in a state of incoherence, in a state of anxiety, they can't do it. And you've all experienced this, right? Me too. I've experienced the same thing. So this is so important to practice this coherent breathing, okay? Because guess what? Everyone's biology works the same in this way. That's why it's a hack. I've tried it with myself. I tried it with clients over and over. And guess what? It works for everyone immediately. As long as you're doing it right with the 3 elements. It's really important to hit those 3 elements and to continue to practice those. Okay, so before we move on to application and growth work for this month, how to apply this, I want to talk about 2 models that are present in the world of change, in the world of dealing with conditions, disorders, dealing with really anything in life. And it's the break fix versus preventative proactive models, okay? And break fix is useful. There is a time and a place for it. However, as a long-term approach, you need to shift your mindset with this mindset tip. You must change your orientation to focus on preventative proactive model, okay? And that means no more break fix or reactive as a way of operating. So the reason I bring this up is because everyone that comes to me, when I first teach them this stuff, especially, they go, so, how's the breathing going? Oh, the breathing's going well. And I'm using it whenever I get nervous and anxious. And I'm like, great. And you have to do more than that. You cannot only use when you are getting anxious and nervous, because you're a little late for the game if you keep doing it that way, right? It's only a break fix way, and that's fine. That's where we start. It's a break fix. It's a reactive way. That's where everybody starts. But you've got to be proactive of implementing this daily, and not only when you're anxious, but actually times to remind yourself when you're feeling good, to check in, to make sure you're doing it right, to adjust your breathing. So it becomes natural for you to always check back in, and then also retrain and recondition your breathing. Super important, okay? Okay, so let's talk about application here. Let's talk about how to apply this, make this an actionable practice in your life with some presence growth work. And this is where the rubber meets the road, right? You ready? So first, you've got to practice your coherence breathing daily. And I mean that. For the next 30 days, every single day, guys. I can't stress this enough. Not every other day, not every few days. And, if you don't put this at the front of what's important, you're not going to receive the benefits of it. I'm just going to be straight up honest with you, just the way I am with all my direct coaching clients, okay? And how vigorous I have to be with myself in order to maintain all these things in my life so that I can be the best version of myself and be the most successful man that I can be. Okay. And so we've got to do this daily. Now, the second thing is I want you to set reminders throughout the day in order to do this. I don't care if you can set your phone for every hour, if you set alarms for, 3 times a day, or if you just want to do it morning and night. That's up to you. And you can change it. Maybe for the first week, you do it morning and night. Maybe for the second week, you do it morning, noon, and night, right? Morning, lunch, and night, or breakfast, before lunch, and before dinner, or after dinner. Or maybe you do it, on the hour, and maybe you amp it up each week. Maybe you do twice a day first week. You do 3 times a day second week, and then you do it 5 times a day or on the hour after that. That's up to you. I want you to experiment, but I want you to start simple and smaller rather than, okay, I'm going to do it every hour for 12 hours straight the first day, if that's overwhelming. Now, if you want to do that, go for it. I'm all for it. But the key is not only do it daily, but do it multiple times a day. Okay? And I'd rather you do it twice a day, every day, rather than do it, say, 10 times a day and skip a day, or do it every couple days. You see what I mean? The consistency is really important here. Okay? So stay on that. The next thing I want you to do is make sure you make a log to track your progress of when you did the coherence breathing for your presence practice here and the effects that you notice. Okay, so what you can do is, if you're going to do it twice a day, you just make sure you mark that. So you write it out for each week, right? Morning, night. Let's just say you're going with that schedule, morning, night, morning, night, morning, night. You mark it. At the end of the day, you leave a little section. What effects did you notice? Okay. Now, I do encourage you, if you'd like, to ramp that up. If you feel that, okay, because I've got all this stuff going on in my life, I'm dealing with all this stuff and kids and work or whatever, then twice a day is fine. But the soon as you can ramp it up to more times a day, the better. And literally, it just occurs to you to practice it without marking it, cool, that's fine. Go ahead and do that. But I want you to track it so you can see your progress and see that these effects are real. And you don't need the log to know the effects are real. You'll feel it immediately. But I want you to be able to go back, and if you ever get into a setback or anything that you get thrown back, and kind of like, oh, this doesn't work, you'll have your progress there to show you that you do. And it's almost impossible for you not to feel the effects of this as long as you're doing the exercise correctly. And if you're having problems with it, remember, just go back to the section in this lesson until you get it right, because all the elements are there. It's that simple what I showed you. The fourth is to make sure, I just want to hit on this, that you're integrating this in your life, that you're not only using it as a reactive break fix type thing, and that's why I've set up the growth work in this way, that it will be an integrative thing and something that you're proactive about, so it'll prevent the anxiety from hitting, not just using it in the moment. Yes, of course, you can use it in the moment as a coping thing. Absolutely, I'm never going to tell you not to do that. But if we're not practicing, again, I want to hit this point, outside of reacting to feeling anxious and reconditioning not only our breathing, but as we said, our mind-body synchronization, our coherence, then we're not going to receive the true benefit of what this does and how it brings us into presence, which is going to affect so many areas of your life, even besides social, your work performance, how you handle your kids, if you've got kids, how you handle your relationship, everything. Okay? So, that's it. We're at the end here of month 1, the power of presence. Please go over this lesson again if you feel like you missed anything, and check out all the awesome bonuses that you got for signing up for Confidence Breakthrough Monthly. Really excited to have you here. I'm so enthused for you and all the change and progress you're going to make by following through everything I'm showing you here in the membership. And certainly go through all the bonus trainings. There's a ton of great stuff there that's going to help you out, that's going to supplement this. But this really is one of the keys to releasing your anxiety, relaxing, reducing, eliminating all that nasty, negative, self-conscious thinking, so that you can be the relaxed, most confident you, so you can really be successful, because that's what it's all about, is you having the most successful and satisfying life that you can have. Okay, so here we are. We're complete with month one, the power of presence in confidence, breakthrough monthly. And thank you. We'll see you next month.